1. Well, this week live. What's up, everybody? I am DJ Anthony. This is my co-host, Magnus, our resident PhD. And today's topic, steroids. Yeah, man, we're going to get ripped. We're going to get swole, son. Now, by the way, hey, Magnus, you're swole, son. Listen, again, we're just two friends. We're not giving any medical advice in any shape, form, fashion, or way. Always check with healthcare professionals. Okay, so Magnus, this story is as old as time, but I was like, especially with the news going on nowadays with, some famous people or some famous person getting pinched with, lying and saying they were natty when they're not. Natty, by the way, means natural, folks. Okay. But I want to talk about steroids because, I am guilty, not of steroid use, but I mean, come on, look at my arms. You think I'm guilty of, I thought like a lot of people like, oh, steroids. And I know you know this, Magnus, because again, you have a PhD in biochem, but I didn't know this as a layperson that I thought all steroids make you big, and that's not true. There's cortical steroids and there's anabolic steroids. Cortical steroids reduce inflammation and make you quote unquote smaller, and then anabolic is the one that makes you bigger. So I didn't know that, and I had a cousin, or have a cousin, and not to get into her life, but she had some autoimmune. She has some autoimmune problems, and I was always confused, like, wait, why are they giving her steroids? And now I understand, like, because she was on cortisol. Now, cortisol steroids, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, you have your body makes cortisol, which is an inflammatory agent, and cortisol is made by the two glands that sit on top of your kidneys, and they're called the Magnus. What are they again?
He caught me. I don't.
It's not. Cortisol it makes cortisol. But these are not the kidneys. They sit right above the kidneys. They are the...
I forget.
I know there's probably medical people watching saying, you son of a bitch, it's not... but no, we got to get this right, dude. Come on. Hold on.
It.
No, I'm going to tell you. What makes cortisol? I want to... Dude, adrenal glands, right.
Yes.
Adrenaline.
Adrenal, that's adrenal... Anyway, you're right.
The adrenal glands sit right on top of the kidneys. They're in a kind of almost like a soft triangular formation right above the kidneys, and they make cortisol. Cortisol is an inflammatory agent. It helps the body, fight stress, etc. So when you take cortisol steroids, that's what that's doing, is trying to tap shit down. Anabolic steroids puff stuff up, makes you have that watery bulk look. So what we're going to talk about steroids, I think you and I are probably going to wind up leaning more on the anabolic stuff, the bodybuilder stuff. So I always liked, and I don't know if you saw it, Magnus, but I'm doing a segment or segments of late called What Is. And so I did what is alcohol, what is cocaine, what is heroin. But this is kind of one of those things, like what is steroids. So I always wonder, like, why do people do what they do? Why do people take steroids? And in my opinion, it's really one reason, aside from, obviously, if you have a health condition. Aside from that, if you're taking steroids, especially for bodybuilding, you're taking it because you're insecure, period. And that's how I see it. Men and some women, but mostly men, it's not good enough to be big. You got to be like horse, like a friggin' gorilla. And at what cost, though? Look at how many bodybuilders die every month. This one's dead. That one's dead. This one's dead. Or, they're destroying, you name it. They're destroying. And that's most of these bodybuilders, especially the pros, or even not pros.
It's ridiculous.
Well, they're not even, they're taking more than steroids. I mean, they're taking, I think they call it stacking, where they're taking, like, you name, like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10. I mean, is it really worth, like, dying young and not being able to, get your mojo up? I mean, like, it's amazing to me. So I say to myself, there's got to be one reason why they're doing this, folks, and that's because they're insecure, and so they pump up themselves with this stuff. And obviously you get street cred. Everyone, oh wow, this and that. And I get it. Listen, I'm an insecure person. Humans, we all have our insecurities, no doubt. You know what I mean? And we either hide them. We mask them through maybe our intelligence, or maybe our good looks, or maybe our money, or maybe for me, I usually hide my intelligence. Yeah. I hide my intelligence. That's true. I'm not smart, but I hide my insecurities, especially in the past. I hide my insecurities through comedy. That's my steroids. That's my bulking up. So I hide my insecurities through comedy. These men, particularly young men that are taking steroids to, get swole. That's what they're doing. They're hiding. It's an insecurity thing. But me doing comedy, I'm not hurting myself. You shooting crap into your body, it's bad, man. You name it, you're killing yourself. And anyway, so what do you think, Magnus?
So first of all, let's walk through this a little bit. So when we're talking about, usually when people are taking steroids, like you said, it's anabolic steroids, but it's also, you need to actually specify it. So it's anabolic androgenic, which is basically the male hormone steroid. So it's shortened for AAS. Another thing that we should add too is that when we're talking about performance enhancing drugs, it's not just steroids. There are a lot of things that goes in there. We're talking about hormones. We're talking about growth hormones, for instance, which is also used quite a lot in when it comes to, like you said, you're stacking it with steroids. Steroids, what an anabolic steroid actually does is it actually make it more proteins within your cells. So your especially lean muscle cells grows faster. So you get more lean muscle mass in your body, which people usually want when they're training, right? Because you want to get big. One of the problems that I see is that people are, when they're using it, they're starting to abuse it quite heavily, and they're using in very heavy dosages.
It's never enough.
Talking about thousands of times more than naturally. We're also talking about that people put a lot of things that are not pharmaceutical grade, because pharmaceutical grade drugs are very expensive to get a hold of, and it's harder to get a hold of too because they're usually more controlled. And in a lot of countries, anabolic steroids are a controlled substance. So you can basically, if you get caught with it, it's like basically you're carrying drugs. So remember that too. I think that once people start using it, it is like a drug. Obviously, it's a drug, but it also works as a drug that you don't feel like yourself when you're not on it.
You're psychologically also dependent on it, because you're starting to see, if I don't take it, I start to get smaller and smaller. And you know, as a man, you're a fucking guy. You know, you can't have that.
Yeah.
So, but you know what's funny? I'm sorry, guys.
You can't train with the same intensity when you're not on it. You don't recover as quickly. You don't grow as fast. You're not as strong.
Right.
You don't have that look of like being swollen and vascular and things like that. Right. So it becomes a part of your personality that you really don't want without. I mean, it's basically like, how should we say it? You become your own superhero when you're on it, and I think that it enhances your personality. So I'm not like, roid rage is not something that has been really clinically proved. I just think that if you're a shitty person to start out with, and then you go on drugs and get bigger, the only thing that happens is that you become a bigger idiot, right?
Of course, yeah. I mean, and again, it's good.
So I think it's just a slippery slope, and you start to see it now. Like, I think when I watched a movie many years ago, they say that 85% of the users are basically every day. They're not athletes. They don't need it for medical reasons or anything like that.
Most of the people taking roids are not athletes. They're the everyday Joe that wants to look great for the beach. And it's sad because
general population.
Hey, you know what makes me laugh? I guess these guys, and I'm not talking about a guy who might use one cycle of steroids in their whole life, but if you're using it as part of your life all the time, I guess that type of guy doesn't like sex, because my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if you're taking roids and other chemicals all the time, it's hurting the romance department. Am I correct?
Yes. So that's kind of interesting. So I said that a lot of people use high dosages, right? So in your body, the receptors, they're like, oh, what's going on here? And then you basically your glands and that creates the hormones. They're like, well, it's called feedback inhibition. So when we have a high concentration, like, well, like, hold your horses. Like, let's stop. It's like the machinery, the fabric that's producing it, let's stop this. So your natural production ceases to exist. So that's why you have a lot of people that are taking certain blockers, and that they go through cycles when they're cycling on and they're cycling off, just to kind of keep your natural. But again, people are abusing it, and it's hard. well, like sometimes like when you lose it, you can lose it for good. So your natural production ends up like you can't get it back and running again.
Right. I mean, it makes me laugh too, because I watch a lot of stuff on bodybuilding, and and again, I don't look like much now, but and I'm not saying look at me, I'm great or anything like that, but I was very, very serious into weightlifting. Most of my young adulthood, from the age of 12 to about 25, I used to compete in Olympic lifting, and big athlete my whole life, and but I still enjoy reading about it and watching, and I am still fascinated by bodybuilding, even though they're shooting shit. And by the way, I mean, don't get me wrong. Look, they're putting in the work too. I don't take that away from them. These men and women, no doubt. But let's be honest, you can't get this freakishly big without the drugs. Anyways, but I was gonna say something. But hold on. The about the steroids. They have the sex department. Oh damn it! Now I lost my train of thought. That they are taking the drugs. The Mojo department can't get it back. Son of a bitch! I need to take some drugs for my memory now. I don't even know. Go ahead.
No, so again, like usually in the beginning of when people are on steroids, they usually like their sex drive increases. So and then after a while it kind of drops and could drop pretty drastically. So yeah, it's like I don't have any personal experience with it, and I'm not really planning on to. I mean, I've been accused many times of using it, and I've been tested a ton of times due to the fact we were playing sports that was kind of considered a high risk sport. So yeah, I mean, I had to pee in a cup several times, and yeah.
That's what I wanted to say. I see all of these bodybuilders on YouTube, and 100% of the time they all say, don't take steroids. I do it, but don't do it. So you even have the steroid users telling people don't take steroids. Yeah. Like, Jesus Christ, people. Like, what more do you need? And I get it. They're addicted, psychologically addicted, all that stuff. But yeah, anyways, I mean, it's I don't know. I mean,
but again, it's like, I understand it. Like getting older, like I understand that people go on testosterone replacement theory, like TRT.
Well, that's a little bit different.
I get it, and I'm 100% behind that too. But you're kind of taking it in somewhat natural doses. You have a doctor testing you. And it's like you're working with a professional that takes it. Like, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of bodybuilders out there that are usually more educated and more knowledgeable than many of the MDs and researchers out there, because they're usually like bro science, and they're the ones that are trying things, right?
Yeah.
But again, it's a slippery slope, and like if you have some type of addiction in your personality, it could be a real problem. If you like, and also like the scary thing that I see it's just younger and younger, especially men, are using it.
Yeah.
And the sad part now is that there's so many women that starting to use it, and they're starting to use it in really heavy dosages too. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I know women use it, but obviously, I think, well, my opinion, I agree with you. Yes, women are using it too, but I think women, generally speaking, are more into like using the Botox and facelift and overdoing it with that stuff.
Not like if you're talking about the fitness industry.
Oh no, I'm just talking about women in general.
Yeah, no, it's and even like I think like now how many years? Basically, the last 10 years, it had become more popular of being fit and having muscles and strong is the new skinny and all that stuff. So and CrossFit is also another kind of, unfortunately, a way into people actually starting to abuse it too. So because you have to be strong, ripped, and be able to train like a crazy person. So. Yeah. Again, like, and I think this is important if you have kids, for instance, and like there might be athletes or they're interested in their bodies and training and things like that. I think it's important that you educate yourself and you have a good, relaxed but important conversation with your kids.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, especially another factor that I do understand that's from the athlete's perspective, performance that they want to become better. I mean, we see a lot of people in the Olympics get popped all the time, and like we see that cycling was having like big issues and so on. And I do understand it that like someone might get an education paid for him, or someone might actually be able to become a professional athlete and earn a high income by taking these drugs. And I get it. I get the temptation. I understand where they're from, because I mean, you can earn millions of dollars.
You can change your family's life and all that stuff. But you know, like you said, most people aren't doing that.
But those guys I do, and girls, I do understand. I mean, I can accept it more than just like Joe Schmo general population goes out and starts taking it. I mean, and it's kind of expensive too.
Oh, of course, like you said, most people taking it are not pros. They're Joes that are out in the street just trying to look big. You know, let's talk about the famous person who got pinched for basically lying. We all kind of knew this, but famous person recently got busted in the news for swearing he was natty, all natural, and now it comes out that he's been shooting every fucking thing on earth, from monkey piss to whatever in his body. Now, a part of me is like, did anybody think this guy was natural? Come on, you know. But I guess it was his, you know, doubling down and tripling down, looking into the camera and saying, "I am natural." It's like, man, you got some balls, dude. You know, and so now it came out that he's, you know, to your point, and we're going to do a show on this, but just because you're an influencer doesn't mean you're an expert. So, you know, watch.
Again, a lot of the influencers are on social media platforms to make a living, earn a lot of money, and they do, and this is kind of the worst part about steroid abuse, is the people that are constantly denying that they're not on it, and they making so much money on their looks. And it's like,
you know,
well, I'm selling this supplement. If you take this, you can look like me with hard work and just take these, you know, like, really? I mean,
but by the way, you got to wonder though, how stupid is the public? I mean, people know, but they choose to be ignorant and not see for what it really is. I mean, I don't think anybody thought this influencer who just got busted was really natural. I think people want to believe in fairy tales and they just turn a blind eye, you know. And even me, by the way, I always knew he was.
Also, it's also what they want to believe, that it's possible to do it, and they want to believe that, well, if I put in the hard work and if I buy these supplements for $79.99. I can achieve something like that, and also I myself could be that the next story. I can achieve that power, money, respect, business, and whatnot. And at the end of the day, you're losing money. You might actually end up like taking things that are hurting you, and you're not even near the result you wanted to start out with.
It's funny, any young man watching this, or any young woman, but any young man that really wants to be badass and, you know, become tougher and stronger and get more respect, my advice to you would be, don't do steroids or any kind of drug. Go and take jiu-jitsu classes, take mixed martial arts classes, because don't believe me, look it up on YouTube. Any of these guys in UFC, especially the early UFC, like Hoist Gracie, look it up. This guy was 170 pounds, and he would walk through dudes that were like 250, all roided up. Just
300-pound guys too.
All steroided up. Hoist would walk through them with ease. And so if you really want to be a badass, you know, join mixed martial arts, get your black belt, and you'll starch all these gym bros at the gym. You know, so, I mean, if you really want to
add something to that?
Yeah.
I think like if you guys are interested in lifting weights, you're interested in bodybuilding and things like that, you have to play the long game. Longevity and continuity is way more important than anything else. Unfortunately, kids, we're talking about teens, early 20s, they want to look like guys that have been training for 15, 20, 25 years. But they wanted it within a couple of years.
Well, that's the American way. We want everything now. Now.
Yeah.
We want money now. We want love now. We want acceptance now. And by the way, I just want to say, I'm not shitting on guys that take roids. I know people that take roids. I'm sure you do too. They're good people. I love them. They're some of them are my friends. Like, cool. You do you. Like, I'm not, you know what I mean? But it's just, you don't want to see the people you love and like, hurting themselves. That's what it comes down.
Yeah.
That's all. And so again, I'm not saying to shit on people that take roids and don't look down on them, because we're all sinners. We all have our shit. You know what I mean? So I'm no better than anybody else, but I'm just saying it's like, just don't post up like you're natural, and, try not to lie.
Yeah, just the lie. I mean, like, first of all, stop lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, and to be honest, like, there's so many people using it nowadays. Like, I honestly don't care.
Yeah, it's not the
I do
worst
not care.
thing in the world.
The only time that I do care is that what we're talking about. Someone that is lying, making money, and making claims that are not based on reality.
Right.
That I can't stand. But a person that, like, takes it because they enjoy it, like, they feel better, they're doing something good. I mean, instead of being out like doing drugs and stealing and hurting people, they're in the gym training.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, 100%. Listen,
I
nobody.
don't see that as a problem.
100%. I don't want anybody doing steroids or any drug, but of the things, alcohol is a far bigger problem in this country than steroids. By far.
Yeah.
You can't get. Cops don't pull you over because you're on steroids, but cops pull you over because you're on beer, because you're on alcohol, because you're on vodka. Yeah. So I mean, like, but again, I'm not saying do steroids, but we got bigger problems in this country. It's almost a topic not really worth talking about, but the steroids thing, but it is a health issue, and I wanted to bring it up. Anyways, in closing remarks, Mark, why am I calling you Mark?
Hey, Mark, Magnus, or whatever, something Magnus. With M, right?
That's right. Magnus, yes.
Mega Man.
I'm forgetting about adrenal glands. I don't know your name anymore. I need some.
I'm worried, Anthony. I'm starting to get worried,
bro. I need drugs to get my brain right. But anyways, is there anything, Magnus, you'd like to talk about before we close?
Yeah, I again, this is more for an like educational purpose, that like people understand what it is, But again, like, if you have kids, if you're worried about them, educate yourself, read more. Like, have a conversation about it. It's the same thing, like, you have the conversations about, like, sex, alcohol, driving, politics, whatever. I mean, it could be a hard conversation, but you're better off, like, being involved in your kid's life and have an understanding.
Right. 100%. Yeah. So very good. All right, everybody, don't forget. Click here, check these new shows out over here and there, and please, we need more followers. Damn it! So tell people, subscribe, damn you.
Who does not want to hear our like cool conversations?
That's right. So, but thank you everybody for checking in, and thank you, Magnus. I'm going to sign us out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Bye, guys. Bye.